Hi, I'm Jeremy Lowe, a partner in the M&A corporate team at Allens. I'm here with Brian Wilson, the chairman of the Foreign Investment Review Board. We're just back here from the CEDA Agribusiness lunch, which Allens sponsored. Brian was a keynote speaker. Thanks, Brian, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Brian, in your role as chairman of the Foreign Investment Review Board, no doubt you have a lot of interactions with foreign investors on Australia's foreign investment policy. How do you feel that our foreign investment policy is received by offshore investors?
I think it's regarded very favourably in an international sense. We have a number of factors. We review a lot more than some other countries because it's a review-based rather than a rules-based system, which means, of course, that some things that might be knocked out by a rules-based system are allowed here, and other times things that might be theoretically permitted by a rules-based system might be reviewed here with more rigour. But we have a number of factors. We review before the transaction. Once an approval is given, the deal is done, as opposed to some other countries where a transaction is allowed to proceed and then sometime down the track it might be unwound. So that's regarded very strongly. Second thing is, by international standards, we're quite quick and definitive in our outcomes.
Looking specifically at agriculture, as you're aware, there's been a recent change on the policy where agricultural land purchases at $15 million now require FIRB review. When you compare that with, say, commercial real estate, which is at $55 million, it looks as if, from a perception perspective, there's greater scrutiny being had by FIRB over agricultural investments, which is attended a function where the key theme was the importance of investment in this sector. How do you reconcile those at least perceptions?
I don't think it's a matter of greater scrutiny. It's a case of appropriate levels for appropriate asset classes. So historically, agricultural purchases, agricultural land, have only been subject to review if they've met the business level, the business threshold of $252 million, or in the case of our free trade partners, something over $1 billion, which actually has meant that no agricultural land purchases ever fit within the review process. So the levels, the threshold levels, 55 million for agribusiness, 252 million for business transactions, $1 billion for free trade partner business transactions, 15 million for agricultural land, just reflect the commercial realities of likely values. Most agricultural land transactions are $1, $2, $3, $4 million. And so cumulatively someone could buy up lots and lots of parcels of land, accumulate quite a large holding and never get within the review. So the fact of these levels is not to do with greater scrutiny, it's actually just bringing them into the scrutiny net in the first place, which we think is important from the perspective of the Australian public that quite legitimately wants all relevant asset classes at least reviewed and scrutinised.
Well, Brian, as well, as you know, the proposed rewrite of the Foreign Acquisitions and Takeovers Act also contemplates the introduction of fees for review of these applications. Do you not think that fees are indicative of a discouragement into foreign investment?
I think whenever anyone makes an investment transaction, they incur all sorts of costs. They incur legal costs, they incur stamp duty often, they incur advisory costs, they incur accounting costs. Almost everything that everybody does in its relationship with government, be they domestic or foreign, generally involves a fee. If you register a company, you pay a fee. If you apply to the ACCC, you pay a fee. This is just really bringing the foreign investment regime into line with almost everything else that occurs with governments. I think in reality the fees are not determinative in any way relative to the value of transactions. The maximum possible fee anyone can pay is $100,000 on even a transaction of multi-billions.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.